Today's highlighted coin is the 2025 Silver Phoenix. The Silver Phoenix rises, your path to financial freedom. The phoenix rising from the ashes is an ancient symbol that represents renewal and rebirth. The story is about a mythical bird who succumbs to the flames of death, only to rise again and overcome the adversity which had led to its death. The myth is thought to have originated with the Egyptians, although there are references to the phoenix in the writings of the Greek poet Hesiod. He notes that the phoenix outlived 9 generations of ravens, which implied immortality. Christianity associates the rising phoenix with the resurrection of Christ and his triumph over death. Today, the mythical bird symbolizes a successful regeneration of a city, institution, company, or individual which had fallen on hard times. Chris's 2025 coin, Silver Phoenix, reinterprets the ancient myth once again. This fabulous silver coin represents the personal freedom acquired when an individual starts to stack physical silver, thereby eliminating the inherent risks that fiat currencies pose to their savings. Once a person awakens to the reality that fiat currencies are not what they claim to be, stacking physical silver remains the only solution. The destruction of the value of the US dollar began years ago. Up until 1933, when President Roosevelt required that all publicly held gold bullion, coins, and gold certificates be returned to the Federal Reserve in exchange for paper money, our paper currency was fully backed by gold. You could go to any bank and get gold for your dollars. Soon after, Congress repealed the requirement that debtors' and creditors' exchanges must be made in gold coin dollars, and President Roosevelt's Executive Order 6102 also banned the public from owning gold bullion. Once this operation was completed, the government then increased the price of gold from $20 an ounce to $35 an ounce, thus increasing the value of their holdings by a whopping 69%. This also allowed the Fed to further inflate the money supply. The price of gold remained the same until President Nixon took the United States off the gold standard in 1971, and the government also announced that it would no longer convert its paper currency into gold. This move was ostensibly done to offset rising U.S. inflation, which was driving foreign countries to exchange U.S. dollars for the stability of gold. This predicament drastically depleted the U.S. gold reserves as well. Removing America from the gold standard also resulted in cheaper American exports and more expensive imports, which eventually helped to curb inflation, but not until after the recession of 1974. The Federal Reserve was also given more flexibility to react to rising inflation by adjusting interest rates. And to show how well the Fed has done controlling inflation, $100 in 1960 now requires $1,000 to attain the same purchasing power. The 1982 recession saw the Federal Reserve phase out reserve fund requirements for certain types of bank deposits. 2000 saw more reductions to the low reserve tranche. By March 2020, the banks were no longer required to maintain a 10% reserve fund in their vaults. They could now have 0 reserves across all deposit thresholds. Today, there is literally nothing of true value supporting our fiat currency. The dollars are simply beautiful pieces of paper, which are only backed by the government's assurance that they are still legitimate forms of money. At this point in time, you have to ask yourself if you believe the government's promise, especially since they don't have a very good track record in the promise department. What if there was a run on the banks, just as there was during the Great Depression? What if inflation spiked again, just as it did in the 1970s? What if the Fed decided to devalue the dollar? What if the economy collapses again, just like 2007? Where do you want your family's inheritance to be lodged, in worthless paper money or in solid silver? Luckily, in 1974, President Ford revoked President Roosevelt's ban on public ownership of bullion. In early 2025, we could buy all the silver we wanted at a reasonable $35 per ounce versus the ridiculous $3,367 per ounce of gold and beat the government at their own game. You can literally emulate the mythical phoenix rising from the ashes, only this time you will become Chris's silver phoenix while breaking the chains of financial uncertainty by stacking physical silver.
Chris Dewayne issues 2 new proofs each week, which are available for a limited time. These proofs come in a presentation box with the Certificate of Authenticity, as shown here. They're also available in BU, Brilliant Uncirculated versions, which are only stamped once, and they come in copper as well. You can check out all Chris's Silver Shield proofs and all things Silver Shield on ChrisDewayneSilverShieldCoins.com.